Hey guys, we're back again doing a quick video here because Goran Dragic has said that Toronto is not the place he wants to play. Apparently, per translation, he word for word has higher ambition than Toronto, whatever that means. I mean, I'm not an NBA player, but when I see a team that just won an NBA title in 2019, has made the playoffs pretty much every year, I think in the last decade, is actually a pretty damn good city in general to play for. It has a bunch of good things for it. Like, I don't know what other higher ambition you're seeking. I personally, after seeing it, think maybe it's a bit of lost in translation, and maybe he said other ambitions and it's being blown out of proportion. But regardless, this is a very interesting take coming from Goran Dragic, a guy who, for the most part, is pretty quiet.
And that's just it, right? And he's not a guy who's ever been outspoken. He's always been a guy who's been kind of a great team player. Whether I know that in Phoenix he did kind of push his way out because he wanted to go to Miami. He wanted to go to Miami originally, and he's been in Miami for so long now at this point that his world just revolves around the Heat. Are the Heat going to contend this year more than the Raptors? Likely, just based on the star power they have. That's not to say that the Raptors can't contend this year, especially with what they're bringing in, with the young guys that they're bringing in. So I think you're right when you said might be a loss in translation, and the fact that neither one of us speak fluent Slovak or Slovak at all makes it so that we cannot prove what he said. If someone out there does speak Slovak and wants to give us the better translation, if that's not what he actually said, please do let us know. But with that translation of higher expectations, it means he wants to go to contender, but I think it's just him strong arming his way into Dallas. I personally don't see Dallas contending any more than Toronto right now, at least. And the more he says these kind of statements, the lower his value is going to be, and the less stuff that Toronto is going to be able to bring back for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree it's decreasing his value, which sucks in that regard because a big reason that them making this trade had a lot of value wasn't just the fact that they do get something in return for Lowry, but also that they get a pick. They could probably, or a player at minimum, they could get a first round pick for based off his tenure in the NBA and how he's been as an experienced player who's made an NBA Finals in the last 2 years as well. I agree that I don't think it's a matter of Miami versus Toronto. I think it's a matter of Dallas versus Toronto. And I would also agree, I don't see the luxury of going to Dallas in terms of contending for a title. Now, with that being said, the Olympics just finished. The only other Slovak in the NBA, Luka Doncic, does play for Dallas. And maybe the thought is, hey, if we could win an NBA title and bring it back to Slovenia together, how great would that be? They probably got really close during the Olympics. But again, like, I just don't see, again, like you said, the bad about playing in Toronto. And maybe that's intentional to decrease the value so other teams are more willing to take him on. I don't know Dallas's pick situation off the top of my head, but I know you can't trade picks 2 years in a row. So they might be in a situation that they can't trade a first and he wants to go there and Toronto wants immediate assets. So he's trying to decrease his value a bit. But like I said at the beginning, I'm going to stay on the stance that I do think it was a bit of lost in translation just because I don't see the reason for Goran Dragic to go out there and start drama. He's a guy who's 35 years old now. He's plenty past the point of immaturity in the NBA. He's definitely past the point of bashing franchises in the NBA. So I don't see why he would say that. I definitely, in some regard, get, again, where you're coming from, want to play the countryman, a friend, and that's probably what it more so is at this point in his career. He wants to be around people he likes, he knows, and COVID just happened, the pandemic. If he's thinking, if I'm playing away from home, I at least want to have some type of culture that I'm used to there. And I think that's what it is. But again, it's just a crappy situation for a Lowry trade that looked very good for Toronto. And as the more days come out, it looks worse and worse with the tampering and now Dragic not wanting to be there at all, saying this. It makes the trade look a bit worse than it originally was, admittedly.
And originally, we didn't even know if Dragic was going to come here right away. It just so happens that stuff fell through with the other teams, namely Dallas, from what I understand. And that's why he was coming here. But with that being said, the GM Webster did come out and say for Toronto that Dragic is a very important piece for the team. He's very key piece for this upcoming year for contending. And hell, there's a starting point guard position open for him there right now. with that being said, maybe if this is actually what he said, it could be one of the situations where he doesn't have any plans on ever playing for Toronto. And if they don't trade him, then he might just do what other players have done in the past and sit himself out. Take the fine, sit himself out. We've seen it with Iguodala a couple of years ago with that Memphis team. We thought he would be a great piece to that team. He decided he just wasn't going to play there. He's going to play on a contender, and he waited until there was a buyout. And if that's actually Dragic's words and that's actually a proper translation of what he said, and they can't get any kind of assets right now from whether it's Dallas or another team, and it drags on for a month or two, might end up with Toronto doing a buyout. If that's the case, it's still not a horrible situation because there's just 1 year left on his contract, and they do clear some cap space. But without doing it right away, right now, they're going to lose that opportunity to spend that money on a proper player who wants to play there. So this is something that I hope they can get cleared up really quickly.
I think the main difference is going to be the deal going from a Dwight Powell, Jalen Brunson in a second round to a Dwight Powell in a second round. I think that's what this kind of discussion ultimately does, because it's like, hey, he wants out of here, he wants to come here, this is what we'll give you, take it or leave it. So I do think it decreases the value a bit, but I think they'll still at least get Dwight Powell and a player or a pick if he does go to Dallas.
Well, fingers crossed that that does come to fruition. If he doesn't want to play for us, I would take Dragic any day, but I don't want to lose him for nothing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would, but let us know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you soon with some more content.